Greetings, viewers and subscribers. Y'all know it's the one and only Maximus, the Master, and this is the Master Grid. Alright, this is a grid I came up with a while back, couple years. So, yeah, this is a great grid to use. Alright, this grid, it really don't miss, you know. So, it's a great system right here. Alright, so what I'm gonna do real quick, I'm just gonna show y'all a few numbers that already came out in a few states. All right, this video is not I'm not predicting any numbers. I'm just showing y'all numbers that already came out in a few states. That's what this video is about. So first off, I'm gonna start with Arkansas. All right, so July 1st, the very first number that came out in Arkansas was 297. And that 297 right there, that was the midday draw, the 1st of July. The evening draw, right after that 297, was 514. 514 right there. See that 297 right there. 514 right there. All right. So July 2nd, midday draw was 294. 294 right there. They started over here, they kind of move over a little bit, but don't worry, they will come back sometime over in this area. So that 294 right there, that's what came out the second day, midday and evening. Right after that 294, bam, that's 728 right there. Yep, that came out the evening. All right, that was the second day of July. So the third day of July, and I'm gonna need y'all to pay attention right here. So definitely I'm gonna need y'all to pay attention. What they did, they pretty much play back this same number. The third day, midday, was 779. So if you know your mirror numbers, you know that 2, you mirror that 2, that's a 7. That's how you get your 779 right there. So stuff like that y'all need to pay attention to. You know what I mean? Just pay attention to how your state, how they be pulling numbers from this grid. You know, try and study the patterns and stuff like that. So as I told y'all in videos before, this grid really works. So y'all just have to pay attention and, you know, just pick the right numbers. And right after that 779 right there was that 406 right there. 064 going that way, 640 going that way. Yep, so right after that 779 right there, 406. That was the evening draw on the 3rd. And the 4th of July midday draw, right after that 406 right there, was that 417 right there. See that 417? And remember that 728. You see everything is coming back close. And remember that 294 that I mentioned that came out on the second day midday. So yes, pay attention to stuff like that. Alright, so that 417 came out the 4th midday. So the 4th evening, right after that, well actually it came out 714 actually. 714. That's the exact way that number came out. 714. Alright. And right after that 714, the evening draw was 058. It's right to that 714 right there. 058 right there. Everything is close. Everything is close. And remember that number that already came out? So everything is close. This grid, it works perfect. Alright, so Pay attention. You see all those hits that came out in Arkansas so far from the beginning of the month. So yeah, and there's more. So July 5th midday, 59950 came out, 950, and I'm gonna need y'all to pay attention. I'm gonna get back to this number. Y'all gonna see what I'm gonna show y'all something. So 950 came out the 5th midday, and the evening was 486. See that 486 right there? Everything is close. Everything is close. Remember that number that I mentioned, 406, everything is close. Alright, so remember I told you to pay attention to that number. So July 6th midday, all they did was they come back to this number, and they did 090. No, 090 is not there to see in plain sight, but you know, if you mirror that 5, that's a 0, and that's how you get your 090 right there. So you see what they did? They did it twice. Remember I mentioned the very first number that came out was that 297, and then what they went back and do, they came back to that very same number and they do 779. They did the same thing to this number. So pay attention, that they did that 950, then they came back and they did 090, and right after that 090 was 002. And if you look, that 5, you mirror that 5, that's a 0. That's how you get your 002 right there. Alright, so those are the stuff you just need to keep a close eye on. Alright, and July 7th, Arkansas, I guess they only do evening draw. I guess that's like a Sunday. Yeah, but July 7th, they only do one draw. That was only evening, and that was they pretty much repeat this number. 249 came out. 249. All right, and that number came out July 2nd midday. It came out as 294. So they repeat this number. All right, so pay attention to stuff like that. And July 8th midday was 246. 246 right there. Right after that 246 was 166. No, that number is not there to see, because that 166 is pretty much like a triple, you know. It's pretty much like you could get 666 off that, or 111. Whenever it's 3 digits of this, pretty much the same. So if you mirror, it's like you getting the reflection of the same thing, you know. So 166, you ain't gonna see. I mean, 166 is there, 166, but we ain't looking at it like that. It's nothing close. It's, you know, whenever there's numbers like that, when it's pretty much three of the same numbers. So when you mirror those numbers, it's, yeah, that, I mean, you could get a 166 off that if you look at it like that, but I'm not even gonna look at it like that. I mean, it does make sense, you know. You get a 166 right there, but tell you what, Arkansas, you might need to pay attention to this number. Yeah, I'm gonna point this number out. Arkansas, definitely pay attention to that 671 right there. Alright, y'all might get that number. Alright, and so yeah, so July 9th, what came out in Arkansas was 700. Now that 700 is not there to see in plain sight, so that 5, you mirror that 5, that's a 0. That's how you get your 700 right there. Alright, so that came out in Arkansas, July 9th, midday. And the evening draw was, they did a repeat again. The evening draw was 147 right there. They repeat that number, 147. Alright. And July 10th, midday was 589. Right after that 147 right there, they grabbed that 589. Alright. And that was the midday. And the evening draw was 446. Now that number is not there to see in plain sight. So you do the mirror style. That 9, you mirror that 9, that's a 4. That's how you get your 446 right there. Alright. And for the 11th, midday, 937 came out. 937 right there. 379 going that way. 397. I mean, that number is there. So that number came out midday, the 11th. And the evening draw was 419. 491, my bad. 491. That's how it came out. 491. Alright, so that's what came out the evening. So let me go ahead and do another state real quick, just to show y'all that this grid really don't miss. This grid produce hits after hits after hits. This is the master grid. So the next state that I'm doing is Georgia. Alright, and do remember, I'm just showing y'all numbers that already came out. Alright, so numbers that already come out in Georgia. I'm just showing y'all that this grid really works. That's what this video is about. Alright, so the very first number that came out in Georgia, July 1st, midday, was 757. Now that number is not there to see in plain sight. So that 2 right there, you mirror that 2, that's a 7. That's how you get your 757. And I will say this, if you're still watching this video from when I just started, remember when I did Arkansas. So what they did in Arkansas, remember I told y'all to pay attention. They do that number 297, and then they went back and all they did was just mirror that 2 and do 779, and then they did the same thing off that number. They play 950, then they do that, they mirror that 0 and do 090. So Georgia, pay attention to this number. They might do a 7, they might do a 252. You know, they might pull something like that, or they might just play this number right there, 752. Alright, so definitely I'm just pointing that out. So yeah, and that was the midday draw, and the evening draw was 938. 938 came out at 938 right there. That was the evening draw, and the night draw in Georgia was 671 right there. Alright, 671 came out. Alright, and July 2nd, midday draw was 241. 241 right there. 241 right there. Then the evening draw was 220. And actually, what they did, see what I'm talking about, Georgia? What that 220 is came off that 757. So what they did, they mirror that 0, that 5, you mirror that 5, that's a 0. That 7, you mirror that 7, that's a 2. That's how that 220 came off that number. So pay attention, they be doing stuff like that. All right, they be doing stuff like that. And right after that, 220 was 774. No, that 774 is not there to see in plain sight. But if you look, that 2, that's a 7, that 9, that's a 4. That's so you get your 774 right there. And you could look at it like this. That 2, that's a 7. So that's how you get your 774 right there. So definitely pay attention to this number right there, Georgia. Y'all might get a 422, or you could get a 977, you know, so pay attention. All right, Georgia. So I said I wasn't picking numbers. That's not the whole point of this number, but you know, but I'm also giving y'all just a little insight, something to look out for, you know. Yeah, just definitely pay attention to how they be pulling these numbers from this grid. So all right, July 3rd, midday draw 348 came out in Georgia. That 348 right there, and all the numbers are pretty close. And right after that, 348 was 557. No, 557 is not there to see in plain sight. That 0, you mirror that 0, that's a 5. That 2, you mirror that 2, that's a 7. You get your 557 right there. And you can look at it like this. Alright, that 0, you mirror that 0, that's a 5 right there. And so you get your 557 right there. Alright, so that came out midday evening July 3rd. And right after that, the night draw was 182 right there. It's close to that 557 right there. Yep. And July 4th was that 539. All right, 539 right there. I mean, right there as well, 539 right there. And the evening draw was 536. 536. They never went far. They did 539, 536. So see that. Then right after that, the night draw was 352. 352. So if you really pay attention, all these numbers are close. 3 numbers, and all those 3 numbers, midday, evening, and night draw, all those numbers are just touching each other, very close. So yeah, next is July 5th. Midday draw was 231. If you look, you see that right there. That was the midday draw. Evening draw was 436. All right, that 436 right there. And night draw was 416. That 416 right there as well. Yep. So you see all those numbers close. Yep. Because definitely all those numbers are just touching. So you just have to pay attention and study the patterns, you know. And July 6th midday was 106. 106 came out midday. Then the evening was 702 right there. And right after that, 702, they did 505. Now you're not gonna see that number because is 3 numbers that is pretty much like the same. So yeah, if you mirror those numbers, yeah. So 505, you're not gonna really see that number. You know, numbers like that, they pretty much like the same. Yeah, so let's move on. So July 7th midday was 827 that came out. 827 came out. Then right after that 827 was that 167 came out right after that. Then right after that 167 came 097 right there. Everything is close, everything is touching. Then July 8th midday was that 931 right there. Everything is close, 931 right there. Right after that 931 was that 083 right there. Right after that 083 was 434. Now that number is not there to see in plain sight, so you do the mirror style of playing. So that 9, you mirror that 9, that's a 4. That's how you get your 434 right there. Then that was the night draw on July 8th. Then July 9th, they do a repeat. They bring back that 097 the same way. 097. Yep, they bring back that number. That was the midday draw. And the evening draw was right after that 097 was that 189 right there. And right after that 189 was that 904 right there. All the numbers are close. Alright, and the July 10th was 548. 548 right there. Right after that 548 was 686. Now that one, you mirror that one, that's a 6. Alright, so once you know your mirror numbers, you know what I'm talking about. That one, you mirror that one, that's a 6. That's how you get your 686 right there. And right after that number was 983. And they repeat that number again. That 983, that number, remember I mentioned earlier, that number came out the first day, July 1st, evening draw. Yep. And they repeat that number July 10th, night draw. Alright. Yep. So it's just a quick video. Hopefully this was helpful. And if you make it so far in this video, I said I wasn't going to point out any numbers or suggest any numbers, but so far between Arkansas and Georgia, I haven't seen there's a few numbers that they haven't pulled from this grid yet that I'm going to point out. I said I wasn't going to do this, but yeah, if you make it to this point, to this far in the video, and whatever state you're watching from, these numbers that I'm about to point out, you can feel free to give these numbers a try. But so far between Arkansas and Georgia, numbers that they haven't pulled from this grid yet that might come out is like that 263 right there, that 865 right there as well, also that 928 right there as well, and 991. You can get a 991 right there. You know, you mirror that 4, that's a 9. You know, between Arkansas and Georgia, I could get those numbers. And 751 right there. Yeah, I might get that number as well. 504 right there is looking good. 896 is looking good as well. I mean, I'm just pointing out a few numbers real quick, you know. You know, that wasn't the point of this video. The point of this video was to just show y'all this master grid works really well. And I show y'all how many numbers that came out in Arkansas and Georgia so far from the first of the month. So yeah, this grid really works, y'all. So this is it. This grid will always, once just take a picture of this grid, you could do a copy, you know what I mean? You keep this with you. It works every day for every draw. Alright, so that's it for this video. Until next time, be safe, y'all. Bless.